Hello everyone, in this tutorial I'm going to talk about the augmented chords, which is another one of those really weird ones that people don't understand very well. An augmented chord is like a major, except you sharpen the fifth. So the first, the third and the fifth note of the scale, it's a sharpened fifth. The easiest way to see this is if we just play a C chord. And we know that that's your C note first, that's going to be the third, that's going to be the fifth, and then that's your octave, 8. So if the G note here is the fifth, then we sharpen it by reaching over onto this first fret. So it's a bit of a stretch, but it's actually quite an easy chord to play. From a C to a C augmented. We can then translate that to a bar shape. So whatever bar shape, if we're playing a C shape, then we're just going to reach over with this finger down to the G string, and it'll be fretted next to where you're barring. And that's going to sharpen the fifth note. So it's actually quite it's a pretty comfortable little stretch there. Once you're used to playing these C-shaped bar chords, which I do all the time, so I'm quite used to this position, and then that's quite an easy position to reach. And what you're going to notice is a lot like I think I showed you once before, the with a major seventh chord. It's the chord between, here's your major shape, there's your seventh shape, and your major seventh is in between. So when we're playing our augmented fifth, the augmented chord, it's we've just had the fifth is a normal major, a sharpened fifth is an augmented. If we sharpen that note one more, we're just going to end up with a sixth, or really this is the relative minor. If you see, there's my C shape, and I'm reaching over here. That's how we get our A minor shape, a relative minor. So the augmented chord is between the major and the relative minor. And that's where you're most likely going to hear it, as a sort of transition chord between those. It would also be possible to go from the fifth to the sharpened fifth to the sixth. You could go to the seventh note, which is easier to play as a seventh shape, what we're used to playing. And that's also a pretty common transition, to climb all those notes. To the augmented, to the relative minor, to the seventh. And all we're doing is climbing that from the fifth, sharp fifth, sixth, seventh. If we kept going, then it would be a major seventh, and then it would be back to an eighth, which is the major chord again. So knowing that it's between the relative minor and the major, that's going to help us then. Let's have a look if we were playing an F shape, open F shape chord. We know that the relative minor is a D minor. So to get from an F to a D minor, we are sharpening this C string 2 frets. So if we only sharpen it 1 fret, then we should end up with an F augmented, shouldn't we? We've got F, sharpen it once would be augmented, and then sharpen it twice is going to be the relative minor that we already know. So let's see what that looks like if I was playing a bar chord F. I'm going to need to somehow reach this note in. So there's my D minor shape that we often play as a bar chord, but I don't want to hit that one. I want to hit the one fret lower, and really I'm going to need to sort of shuffle my fingers around a bit. It's a bit awkward. but there's the note in between there. So from the F shape, and then I'm sharpening this note on the C string. Now it's pretty cramped, bit confused what I'm actually playing there. But because I've got all three of these fingers are playing those strings, I don't really need my bar finger to be hammering down on all four strings. It might be easier to just relax it, and you've only got to take care of the top string. It's the same shape. And then you can see that what we're fretting is sort of a kind of diagonal line from... Not a perfect diagonal. And that's the shape that you will see in almost all the ukulele chord books. It'll be this weird shape. But let's have a look at it a bit more. The outside strings are exactly the same. So that one of them is redundant. It's really only a 3-string chord. We could play the top 3 strings, or we could play the bottom 3 strings. And it's the same chord. So if I'm just looking at what am I fretting here on the bottom 3 strings, oops, it's so hard to play. I'm losing my grip there. If I think about what I'm playing in those bottom 3 strings, but I'll reposition my hand so it's an easier bar chord shape. I'm barring that there. It's the same notes, and then I've got my little finger to drop back up on the top string and play the octave of the C string, and I've come full circle back to my C shape with my finger stretched over to that sharpened fifth. So that's a convoluted way of showing you that this position that you often see in books could just as easily be played by shifting your hand around upper fret, barring it, and making it a C shape and reaching over. And it's such a much more comfortable position. So let's not worry about that shape for the F shape. And just I might as well show you the if we were playing an A chord. The concept is the same. It's going to be, the sharpened fifth is going to be between our major and what we would play as our relative minor. So the relative minor for an A is a F sharp minor. And which means rather than, now we're on the E string, sharpening it twice, if we only sharpen it once, I'll rearrange my fingers. That's going to be the augmented chord for an A. And let's look at it as a bar shape as well, A, on a different chord. But if that A shape, I now want to sharpen the note that's on the second string, I'll have to rearrange my fingers a bit. And I'm now in exactly the same position as before. It's going from the, doesn't matter if I went from the F shape bar chord or the A shape bar chord, you end up meeting in the middle to make this same weird shape. And as I've already shown you, I'd rather not play this 4-finger shape. I'd rather move up a fret and play my C shape with the finger stretched over. So this one shape can actually take care of, it doesn't matter what position. I figure this the C shape is the much easier position to play. Now, how do I know where to play? So at least now we know the position, the shape of the chord, but how do we know what the names are? Now, again, like I showed you with diminished sevenths, it'll be handy if you go back and look at my tutorial with the diagrams. I'll put a link below. If you fast forward to the 6.5 minute mark, that's where I'm looking at augmented chords. And that part runs for less than 2 minutes, and it shows that the 1, the 3rd, and the sharpened fifth are all equidistant relative to each other. So no matter what note is at your root, the chords are going to be exactly the same. They'll form a triangle in my diagram. So that means there are 3 names for every augmented chord, but only for each one position. So if there's 3 names for a 1 position, we'll be able to get every single one of the possible 12 chords in 4 different positions, just 1 fret apart. So let's have a look at what that means. If it was an open chord, what's our open augmented shape is this. And we know the notes in a C are G, C, E, and C, so that must be G sharp, C, E, and another C, the octave. So this chord could be called a G sharp augmented, a C augmented, or an E augmented. When we turn it into a bar shape and go up a fret, we've now got an A, a C sharp, and an F, and another C sharp. So that's the names of these 3 positions: A augmented, C sharp augmented, or F augmented. We go up another fret and we've got B flat augmented, D augmented, and F sharp augmented with another D note. And that's the names of those 3, the 3 different chords that are in this one position. One more fret, and the notes are B, D sharp, G, and D sharp. So there's another 3 chords: B augmented, D sharp augmented, and G augmented. And if we go to the 4th fret, I'm playing a C note, an E note, a G sharp, and another E. So those are the names of this position: C augmented, E augmented, G sharp augmented. And if we have a look back now at this 4th fret, we are copying exactly the same notes as we were in the open shape, just in a different position. So and then if we played the next one, C sharp, F, A, and F, you notice that's copying the same as the first bar chord position. So just like diminished chords, augmented chords, diminished chords were the one shape that you repeated 3 times, and they had 4 different names. Augmented chords are the one shape that you repeat 4 times, and they each have 3 different names. So kind of similar in concept. If this bar shape takes up 4 frets, then my next identical bar shape is just going to be at the very next fret. If I slide it up to the 5th fret, that's going to be the same. And then if I slide up to the next fret after that, so this is taking up 5, 6, 7, and 8. If I now go to the 9th fret, it's the same chord. So that's how they're all split apart. So you notice in the box of chords I've just written, you can see highlighted in yellow, we've got every single note there. So the way that you find a chord, if you see it in the music, is first you have to find that note on the fretboard, and then you'll know whatever shape contains that note will be the right chord. So let's say I want to find an A augmented. Where do I find an A? On G, C, E, A would be an open note there, or that's where we'd normally fret our A on the bottom string. And I've just got to drop my hand in to include the A note in my augmented shape, in augmented bar chord shape. That's an A augmented. If I wanted to play a G augmented, so there's a G note. If I just bar, so I'm holding the G and then form my shape around it, that's going to be a G augmented. If I wanted to play an E flat, how do I find an E flat? I know this is my E chord, slide it down, that note is an E flat. I've just got to drop my finger in there and I've got an E flat augmented, which is the same as my G augmented. They're all the same notes. So let's have a look at how the augmented chords relate to the major shapes. If I was playing a C-shaped bar chord, I'm at the 5th fret, then that's easy. I just need to drop my finger in to the same position. If I'm at the 5th fret and I'm playing an F-shaped bar chord, to get to the augmented, I'm going to want to slide up 1 fret. That's how they're related to the F-shaped bar chord. And if I was playing an A-shaped bar chord at the 5th fret, I'm also going to want to slide up 1 fret to sharpen the 5th. So that's how they're related to each other. If it's an F-shape or an A-shaped bar chord, you're going to want to slide your bar up 1 fret, and then play your augmented shape. If it's a C-shaped bar chord, then you don't slide it up because you're already in the right position and you just drop your finger in there. So a good exercise is to play your major chord and follow it by finding your augmented chord. So let's say for an A, I'm playing an A chord. I want to play the A augmented. I know that if I slide up from that, this is an A shape, it's open A shape. But if I slide up to 1 fret, I'll be able to play, that's an A augmented. If I was playing a B flat bar chord is an A shape. So let's slide that one up a fret. That's your B flat augmented. Same with a B. To get to the B augmented, I would slide up and create that shape. If a C, obviously I don't need to slide up, C chord here, I can just drop in there, C sharp. I do the same, the D chords, because they're all C-shaped bar chords, I don't move anywhere, I just drop my finger in. D, D sharp augmented, E, and E augmented. And if I'm playing an F, it's an F shape, so I'm going to want to move my bar up 1 fret. So from F, that becomes my F augmented shape. There's an F sharp, so slide up 1. There's my F sharp augmented. There's my G. So you get how they all work this way. G is an F shape that we normally play a G just here, but it is actually an F shaped bar chord. So to get the G augmented, I'm going to slide up 1 fret and then form my augmented shape with these 2 fingers. So they aren't actually that hard to find. Normally they're in the context of your root chord. So whatever the root chord is, what am I playing there? That's a C sharp as an A-shaped chord. I know that the augmented is going to be slide the bar up 1 and then create my C-shaped augmented chord. So there you go. I hope you find that very helpful.